21, right? 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. Thank you so much for auctioning off my student debt. How's everybody doing tonight? Okay, so we're running a little late, and I don't want to go over time, so let's get to the new review that I got ready for you guys. The beginning of a new marathon. I hope you guys.
Coming out in a couple of months, but a lot of people are also excited for the upcoming Mega Man X Legacy Collection. All 8 games are being split into 2 packages, but that's a complaint for another time. So I figured, alright, last time I was here I gave the classic series a look at, so it's time for the next chapter of Mega Man games, and ones that I'm a little more familiar with. Indeed, the X series is where I was first exposed to the Blue Bomber's legacy. Mega Man 6 was my first classic Mega Man game, but Mega Man X was my first Mega Man game, period, and I've been playing it since 1994. And spoiler warning, because this may be incredibly obvious to some of you watching already, but I fucking love this game. It's one of my favorites of all time. I can go back to this any day, anytime, never tired of it. Wanted to make that clear before getting this video started, before I inevitably started gushing. But you know, what is Mega Man X? Was it the 10th entry of the series before the 10th entry of the series was a thing 17 years later? Like before, we have several games to cover for this marathon, but Mega Man X gets its own video because I have the most memories of this game specifically, and it did start the whole X lineup, so I think it deserves some special attention. Mega Man X was Capcom's way of bringing the Blue Bomber into the next generation of consoles. The original series was going strong. In fact, Mega Man 6 was still released for the NES just 2 months after Mega Man X was released, but classic Mega Man started to wear a little thin, so it was time for the developers to inject new life. It was time for Mega Man to make his 16-bit transition. And a lot of Mega Man's previous development team returned to start this new series, including Keiji Inafune, of course, and producer Tokuro Fujiwara, who's been involved since the first Mega Man title. The year is 1993, the Super Nintendo was already an established thing for about 2 years at this point, and since this is the 1990s we're talking about, this is the time where a lot of things were getting their darker and edgier makeover. Comic books, movies, music. Not sure if it was just Capcom trying to follow the trends, but the idea was to create a more hardcore Mega Man. Something less Astro Boy and more like the Terminator. Okay, slight exaggeration, but the setup of the game doesn't lie. This was a darker Mega Man title, and it hits you as soon as you start the game up. We get this boot up screen of someone logging into the computer. It's later revealed to be Dr. King, but holy shit, over 32,000 terabytes of memory? This motherfucker's got the entirety of Pornhub in there. A lot of techno jargon. Micro-fusion fuel tank, lightweight titanium X alloy for skin, probably about 20 USB ports up his ass or some other shit. Then we suddenly get this flashing red screen warning us that this new Mega Man is possibly the most dangerous thing on the planet. And it's such a jarring contrast, isn't it? Like, I can imagine those who grew up with classic Mega Man used to the bright and colorful atmosphere, he's running in the sunlight, mission accomplished, and then they play Mega Man X and it's like, this motherfucker will kill you! Mega Man X, or just X as it's shortened to, was the very last creation of Dr. Thomas Light. His goal was to make a robot that had total free will, the ability to think, feel, and make their own decisions, which is funny because as the years went on, classic Mega Man already sort of had those features, but whatever. Dr. Light was going big this time around, and basically wanted to create life anew. But fearing that the world wasn't ready for the sleeping technology, but were perfectly okay with Clown Man, Dr. Light sealed X inside a capsule for 30 years to test out his internal systems, to make sure he was the reliable robot he had earned his third son to be. Unfortunately, Dr. Light would later die during this period and had no one to carry his work because I'm guessing everyone else died? This is the biggest mystery of the X series that to this day has not been directly answered. What happened to classic Mega Man or Proto Man? What about Roll, Rush, Auto for Christ's sake? There's literally no one from the previous era alive? Yeah, they're all gone. This is a new generation of Mega Man after all. But years pass, we're now in 21 blah blah blah, and X is eventually discovered by one Dr. Kane, who is so impressed by X's eternal machinations that it inspires him to design robots just like him called Reploids, short for Replicant Android. You ever seen Blade Runner anyway? In the coming years, human and Reploids coexisted, but over the course of time, crimes committed by Reploids slowly began to rise. In response, a special force of robots was created to deal with rogue Reploids, later identified as Mavericks. Led by their commander Sigma, who may or may not be an actual dickhead, X was enlisted into the Maverick Hunters, joined by his buddy Zero, who in fact was Keiji Inafune's original design for Mega Man X, but it was deemed too radically different. And again, that kills off all the previous characters, and that's where the line was drawn, alright. Zero was later made into X's partner in combat in favor of X's design being something more familiar. I do love X's look, it feels like a natural evolution of his classic counterpart, but in the American box art, he's fucking pissed, and he can't aim for shit. The Japanese box art kind of continues the trend of Lockman covers where it's just an ensemble of the heroes and bad guys. My favorite being Sigma. It's like, yeah, how's it going, everybody? Yeah, I'm Sigma, hey! Anyway, the Maverick Hunters were created to deal with the bad robots, but then one day, out of nowhere, Commander Sigma himself went Maverick and yearns to wipe out humanity for the sake of making a future for only Reploids, as he thinks Reploids are the next step in evolution. It's like Magneto and his Brotherhood of Reploids. So together with his partner Zero, X takes up his arm cannon and makes it his mission to stop Sigma's forces, and eventually Sigma himself. And it should be said that most of this comes from the manual of the game and the PSP remake of Mega Man X, which I'll cover later. Because in the actual game itself, as soon as you hit the start button, you're just thrown into the game. There's a bit of dialogue here and there with X being unsure of himself as a capable fighter, but the entirety of Mega Man X is dealing with the aftermath of Sigma's betrayal. The X series as a whole is more involved with this plot than the classic series, as we'll see the further we go into these games, but it still shares a lot of tropes from the previous generation. Mavericks, for instance, are this series' Robot Masters, and Sigma is this series' Dr. Wily. But there we go, we got our setup, and it's certainly a darker take on Mega Man thus far, but to me this also extends beyond the plot. This game's aesthetic also oozes with a darker tone. The opening stage is a decimated highway. The first boss, Vile, ends up mopping the floor with you and you almost die as a result, but you're saved at the last second by Zero. But it kind of makes you feel a little hopeless. Most of the stages involve X raiding weapon and military bases, about as cold and sterile as the very robots that occupy them. And the visuals are one thing, but even the sound design lays on the tonal shift. One of my favorite tracks in this game is, believe it or not, the theme that plays before you encounter a major boss. It's so unsettling because this ain't classic Mega Man anymore. You're in a time far removed from it, and as someone who has finally played all those damn classic games, I can see that easily now. Of course, Mega Man X isn't HR Geiger. It isn't that radically different from the classic series. At the end of the day, it's a faster-paced Mega Man. And I certainly didn't think any of that shit when I first played this so many years ago. I was more like, oh man, this game looks so cool. Look at the size of my charge shot. Holy shit, that is awesome. I'm climbing walls, I'm shooting a penguin in the face, and goddamn, this soundtrack is fantastic. It's still, even today, my favorite Mega Man soundtrack. Like, across the entire franchise, the compositions wonderfully use the SNES sound chip to its fullest potential to deliver a score that's varied, grungy, because this was the 90s, energetic, atmospheric, and goddamn, it's so ear-grabbing. My favorites being Boomer Kuwanger, Storm Eagle, Sting Chameleon, Armored Armadillo, all the Sigma stages, the boss music, both variations. I even love the password theme. The password theme! We're talking about a screen on a game that you'll probably skip past in half a second, but the sound design, I should mention, is also something I wholeheartedly love. It's very minor shit, don't get me wrong, but I love the sound of my charge shot, the impact of hitting a boss, riding a giant mech, the sound of the shutter door closing behind me. I don't know why, but I fucking love that sound. Mega Man X isn't too far removed from its classic foundation as far as gameplay goes. Just like before, you can run, jump, and shoot power pellets from your trusty arm cannon. There's a total of 8 Mavericks to take down. You absorb their special abilities when you defeat them, giving you more weapons to add to your arsenal that you can experiment with, while also giving you the potential advantage against the next boss, as some are weak against specific weapons. When all 8 Mavericks are defeated, you find your way to Sigma's fortress for a total of 4 stages, ending with a climatic battle against Darth Mr. Clean. Stage themes are generally tied to the Maverick in charge. Flame Mammoth, for example, hides inside a fiery scrap heap, while Chill Penguin hangs out in an Arctic region. It's fundamental, but one detail I love is that certain stages actually change depending on which Maverick you've already taken out. In Spark Mandrill's level, there's electrical currents all over the floor, and it makes this mini-boss a pain in the ass with its constant lightning bolts. But if you cleared, say, Storm Eagle beforehand, you cause this ship to crash into Spark Mandrill's base, causing a power outage. The electrical currents are gone, the mini-boss is now a total joke, and though you have to deal with a couple of blackouts, it's not as annoying as before. Want to get rid of the lava and Flame Mammoth stage? Take out Chill Penguin first and watch as the whacked-out climate freezes everything over, opening up new pathways that may or may not contain stuff like heart containers, permanent upgrades to X's health. Yeah, this is sort of weird now that I look back. X doesn't have much health when he starts off compared to the original Mega Man that had max health in the start of every game. You gotta find heart containers if you want more health now, and I'm on and on with this honestly. On one hand, I love the feeling of discovering these. On the other hand, it's a gameplay element that exists by taking something established, in this case a full health bar, and cutting it into pieces, and it's like this for every game. So X, I mean, the fuck are you doing, man? Your health is as flimsy as Samus's power armor. But I love this sort of design. You can tackle any stage in any order if you want to, or you can make things easier for yourself if you do things in a certain way. It's good for first-time players. And then later, if you're feeling confident, you can try and defeat bosses in this order or that order. I've done that plenty of times in this game. It also sort of helps that Mega Man X is not as tough as earlier entries in the series, and a big part of that, I feel, lies in X's very potential. Instead of energy tanks, X can collect sub-tanks, permanent storage containers that fill up every time you collect a health pickup when your health is already maxed out. In an emergency, you can use the energy stored inside the sub-tank to give yourself a little breathing room. And while it's true you have to fill up the tank yourself to get the most out of it instead of the one-and-done full restore of the energy tanks, I really like how sub-tanks are permanent. There's a total of 4 in the game, and if you know the right spots, filling the tanks up take no time at all, although the bat population is seriously fucked. An immediate difference between X and classic Mega Man is X's wall cling. You can hug any wall that isn't hazardous and jump off to climb it, allowing for some of the most vertical level design we've seen at this point in time. It's a lifesaver in situations that would have spelled death in the classic games, because say if you get knocked back into a pit, because yes, knockback is a thing in this game, you can potentially hug the wall and kick yourself back up. That's wonderful, but it doesn't stop there, because there's also permanent armor upgrades you can find in certain stages that the late Dr. Light left for you to find. Don't know why these weren't just built into his core design, but I won't speak ill of the dead, not just yet. You can increase your armor to take more hits, you can upgrade your charge shot to be more powerful, that also lets you charge your special weapons to create some vastly different effects. Being able to charge special weapons is so cool. I love charging up the Storm Tornado and launching a funnel of death that nukes the hell out of these sea dragons. But the leg upgrade is undoubtedly the most important, and the one you'll most likely find first, because they don't even try to hide this shit from you. It's very simple, just lets you dash and make longer jumps, but this, along with the wall cling, transforms Mega Man X into a very fast-paced game. Now, I'm not talking Sonic fast, but look at this. You could never achieve this sort of speed before, and combined with the wall cling, it's fluid, responsive, and not at all punishing. Yeah, I would still recommend exercising caution, take it from me. I lose myself in the movement in this game because I find it so exhilarating, but you know, I get hit a lot because of that shit. But with this kind of mobility, it's easier to avoid oncoming projectiles and all that, although this game does have an annoying holdover from the NES games, where enemies that die immediately respawn the moment you go slightly off screen. It can get a little chaotic in some spots and looks jank as hell, but it does help that X is pretty damn capable of defending himself. Even better when you start defeating these bosses and get to use their weapons. God, I love the weapons in this game. A flamethrower, a tornado shot, an icy shotgun that you can ride like a surfboard, 2 types of shield, homing torpedoes, boomerangs that can pick up items, and you can switch between weapons on the fly by just hitting the shoulder buttons without breaking the pace. Later on, you can even score the Hadouken from Street Fighter, and though you need full health to use it, it can one-shot anything. It's a little morbid on how you get it though. You make this jump off of this platform, collect this energy capsule, and then jump off the cliff and die. You do it about 4 more times. Dr. Light, what the fuck is wrong with you, man?
That's a good question.
So you got all your weapons, you got all your upgrades this time, head into Sigma's fortress. Another thing I really like is that unlike Wily's castle, it isn't a gauntlet, meaning every time you finish a stage, you can head on out, refill your sub-tanks, and head back inside completely refreshed. You take on Vile again, only you're much stronger this time. Your buddy Zero ends up sacrificing himself to give you the advantage. See you next game, buddy. And finally, it's just you, Sigma, and a potential lawsuit from George Lucas. No, seriously, Capcom is pushing this shit. I mean, Vile is a simple color swap away from being Boba Fett. I guess they really enjoyed Star Wars. Anywho, X defeats Sigma, saves the day, and watches as Castlevania crumbles over the horizon. X then begins to ponder about his purpose in life and how long he must keep fighting to ensure peace. And spoiler warning, that isn't getting old anytime soon. And that's Mega Man X. I mean, I've said it before, I'll say it again, I love the hell out of this game. I love the changes it brought to the formula. I love the fast-paced gameplay. I love the upgrades, the weapons, the stages, the boss fights, the look, the sound. I don't think there exists a perfect video game, but Mega Man X, I gotta say, it's way up there, man. For over 20 years, this game has repeatedly delivered a sense of joy that only a few others have come close to reaching in this genre specifically. Goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyway, play this, please. It's available on a lot of platforms, the SNES, the Virtual Console, X Collection, the upcoming Legacy Collection. I would even recommend Maverick Hunter X. Yes, much like Mega Man powered up, Maverick Hunter X was Capcom's attempt at rebooting the X series with a 2.5D remake of the first game, complete with new graphics, an enhanced soundtrack, a fleshed out story with more character development, sort of, and additional content in the form of a playable Vile who has his own campaign, along with his own personal arsenal of weapons to bring in a large variety of pain. It was a failed attempt, of course, because it was on the PSP. Don't get me wrong, I love the damn thing, but not enough people did, and I don't understand why Capcom thought it was the best option to choose for their Mega Man reboots. They should have waited a couple of years for the 3DS. A shame, too, because this isn't a bad remake at all. I still prefer the SNES original, but the game looks and sounds great, the remake soundtrack is a joy to the ears, and I appreciate the added story elements to make X's world more interesting. You learn a little more about the Mavericks. When you finish the game, you unlock the Day of Sigma, a near 25-minute-long animated short that goes into Sigma's modus returning to the dark side, which sort of retcons his origin story in X4, but we'll get there in time. And the voice acting isn't too bad. It's hit and miss, sure. Like, I love Lucas Giberson as Zero, but I swear every time he plays up the drama, it sounds like he's about to burst into a fit of laughter.
Change the world?
Sounds like Maverick talked to me. Perpetrator was so skilled. Not many Reploids have specs that high.
But most importantly, the gameplay was pretty much left intact. If you play the SNES game, you can play this no problem. I think it's a little easier to boot. Like, I find it easier to read enemy attacks because of 3D animations being easier to distinguish. So if you thought the SNES game was too much, give the PSP remake a try. Vile's campaign is a neat bonus, giving you the option to play through the game as this greasy douchebag, but I don't find him as enjoyable as X. He can't dash for starters, and it was really fucking hard to break that habit. And he has miserable defense, making the intro stage, out of all things, one of the hardest in the game, believe it or not. And though he has a large selection of arm cannons, shoulder cannons, and foot bombs, they're not as visually exciting or satisfying to use as X's special weapons. Now, I love how his ammo rapidly regenerates, but enemies can still drop weapon ammo as if you're playing as X. For Vile, that's just a waste of time. I'm just trying to refill my energy because I'm low on health, but weapon ammo keeps dropping and I'm getting nowhere. Every once in a while, you can find Vile's special ride armor, which you would think is something he'd be able to call at any point, given how big of a deal it was in the original game. And it's good for mowing down enemies, but it's got a pathetically short time limit that goes down faster whenever you take a hit. I don't get that. It's also required for certain upgrades. The sub-tank and Storm stage is next to fucking impossible to get because you have to make sure your ride armor blows up in front of these containers that's preceded by a shitload of floating platforms with enemies on them to drain your timer. It's a crapshoot. It makes me think Vile's campaign was kind of slapdash into the product. I also don't like how every stage plays the same song. It's a cool theme, but why make it the only song you hear into the Sigma stages? A very strange decision. But on the plus side, you can sort of hover in midair by mashing the shoulder cannon button, which might be an unintentional thing, but I can fly over a good chunk of Wand Octopus and say there's not a goddamn thing you can do about it. I was able to beat this mode, but it wasn't that great of a time. I'll take X any day. Maverick Hunter X is a good buy. If you got a PSP, I don't think it would hurt to hunt down a physical copy, but if you also have a PS Vita, it's on the PlayStation Network for a mere $10. A damn good deal in my opinion. No matter what version you get on the Super Nintendo and the PSP, the game delivers and then some again. One of my favorites of all time. I implore you, please give it a shot. I'm premiering this video at TooManyGames, and I know there's bound to be one or two vendors out there that has a million copies of this. Please play it. Give it a shot. See if you like it. You got nothing to lose. It's only about like an hour and a half long, so yeah. But hey, I mean, fuck. We're just starting this marathon. We're already at a very, very high point. So, I mean, how will the other games fare? We'll find out next time with a double review of Mega Man X2 and Mega Man X3 on the Super Nintendo. With all that said, thank you all for watching. Have yourself a fantastic day. I forgot about the iPhone version. Well, we have to give that one a shot and see how it works. Microphone's so high. There we go. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me see here. We got, about 20 minutes left. All right, so to supplement this, I suppose, I do have gift cards to give out. I decided to do a Mega Man X trivia contest for you guys for your fellow Mega Man fans. Where the hell is my bag?
John, behind you. Behind you.
Okay, so I have 5 $20 Nintendo eShop gift cards to give. I was gonna do Steam, but Target never has $20 Steam gift cards. Yeah, and the Steam Summer Sale's on by the way now, so rip your wallets. All right, so I got 5 questions for 5 gift cards. If you want to answer the question, please raise your hand and I'll pick the first one I see. Do not shout the answer, please. What, Ted?
Who's your favorite member of Brain Scratch Comps? Some call him John.
John. Okay. So, I'm not sure how tough this would be, but yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys know your Mega Man X lore. So, first question.
What is the Japanese name for Mavericks? You all the way in the back, near the door.
I raised my hand, but then I realized I didn't know the answer.
You, flannel. Yeah.
The irregulars.
Irregulars, that's right. He knock his bag down too. Yeah. Really? All right. All right. So one of the upgrades you can get from Dr. Life is Dr. Life. Not anymore. One of the upgrades you can get is the upgraded Charge Buster. What is the alternate way you can get that? You with the glasses.
You can get it, zero will give it to you when it dies.
That's true. That's right. All right, third question. What is the name of the boss, the major boss, in Sigma Stage 2? You, or a green shirt with a beard, yeah. That's right. He said banged Yeah, rangda bangda, there's a D in there. Yeah, there is. All right. So the boomerang cutter was the weakness of Sting Chameleon, but what other Maverick also had a secondary effect to it? Metro got you there.
Launch Octopus, you take off his arms, and Flame Mammoth, you knock off his trunk.
That's right. You're getting all these in your first try. I should have went a little harder. Banged up. Okay. So Armored Armadillo Stage is home to a unique enemy that always drops well when it's killed. You there with the blue flannel. The bat?
Yeah.
That's her. I was like, is that the name of the bat? All right, there you go. That's it. All right. That was pretty smooth. So what we're going to do now for the rest of the event, we still got like 18 minutes left. We're going to do a Q&A. Since we don't have anywhere to set up, sit down, Austin. Since we don't have anywhere to set up, I'll just pick random questions. I apologize if I don't get to you. I do apologize. I like what?
I'm stealing this from Ted. Who's your favorite wrestler? Why is it Roman Reigns?
The big dog. I don't have a favorite wrestler. Daniel Bryan, I guess.
Yes!
Injustice 2.
With Super Smash Ultimate, what are Echo Fighters and fighters you want in the game?
I wouldn't mind Shadow the Hedgehog being an Echo for Sonic.
No, Classic Sonic should be the Echo Fighter.
Say what?
Classic Sonic should be the Echo Fighter.
Well, you're wrong. I'm sorry, I know I give Avenger 2 shit, but Shadow should be an Echo Fighter, I think.
No, give him the guns and chaos spears and stuff like that.
Let me see, yellow shirt with long hair. Yeah.
What the heck happened to the Superhero-thon on SGB?
Elliot, answer that question. I see, I don't know if we want to do that now, because didn't you soft lock in Spider-Man 2? Like, for Extreme Sabrina? Imagine, we'd never get that Let's Play done. It'd be another haunted Halloween. Yeah, what's up?
Up to explain what happened?
Yeah, sure.
Boards are being tangled and stuff, and this ain't on. Now it's on. So pretty much, if you haven't seen Stream for Sabrina, I was supposed to play Spider-Man 2, and I did. But I kept skipping cutscenes, and it got to a point where it's like, oh, you keep skipping cutscenes, you can't play no more. It's pretty much what happened when John told me I was playing Pajama Sam as a kid. I keep hitting the escape button to skip the cutscenes, but he kept saying if I did it, I'm gonna mess up the computer.
Yeah, because those be running a lot of it. Also, turn the mic off. Let's see, Too Many Games shirt, right here. Yeah, next to Marty McFly.
When are you reviewing Mario Teaches Typing 2?
Never. I should have typed that out. I think never. Sir, but.
This is from your Final Fantasy 14 Final Fantasy 7 Live
Okay.
Session 14. Your co-host Nathan asked you a question when the wonderful Chocobo was giving you bad RNG, but you didn't answer it.
Yeah. How long have you been holding on to this question?
Yeah.
What was the question? About chocobos and RNG? What was it? What was the question?
Do you smoke marijuana, and when you come to Washington, do you smoke marijuana?
I need everyone to turn their cell phones off and their microphones off. I don't think we're being recorded. I mean, no, Mom. My mom, ladies and gentlemen. Without her, I literally would not exist, so she's kind of a big deal in my life.
Kind of?
The answer is yes, I have smoked pot. Let me see. Matt, what?
Where are you going for dinner tonight?
Anything you want, baby. Let's see. Gen Ultra Sun and Moon Pokemon on the top. That's Mimikyu, I think it was. Yeah. Oh wait, there's two of you. Shit. I meant the guy behind you. Well, now I feel bad. One question.
What is the worst game you have played as part of the Versus series so far?
My review series?
Yes.
The worst game I ever played?
Yes.
Free Rider!
Mary Kate and Ashley.
Mary Kate and Ashley. Rugrats!
I think everyone's answered the question for me.
Sonic Adventure 2.
Yeah, there we go. Sonic Adventure 2. Literally the worst game I ever played in my life.
Free Riders!
Titanic.
Oblivion Keyblade all the way in the back.
Alright. If Big ever got his own game, somehow, in this day and age, what would you want it to be like and why?
Big Fishing Adventure. I mean, that game does exist. I mean, it kind of went into hiatus for a bit, but that game is still in development, and I'm looking forward to it because a lot of love and the details put into that by a very dedicated Sonic fan. So I hope you guys look forward to it. Yeah. Let me see. Maybe. Let me see. Pink sweater next to Splatoon boy.
Oh. So.
Did you say Woomy?
Since your original review of Overwatch, of the new characters, which are your favorites?
Tracer. No, I'm kidding. I've grown a liking for, was it Moira, I think it was? With the orbs and all that. And although my first impressions weren't high of him at first, I really want to learn Doomfist. Like, as I really do like Shaq Fu 2.0. Let me see. Awesome, what's up? Eagles, yeah.
Just out of curiosity, and I don't know why you haven't done a reaction video to this one. What are you interested in with the Sonic the Hedgehog live action film by Paramount Pictures, and at the same time would you consider doing a Sonic marathon in conjunction with the Sonic movie, along with review of hopefully Mario and Sonic at the Olympic Games?
No. Alright, well, to answer your first question, I have no thoughts on the Sonic live action movie, like none whatsoever, because we don't know anything. I mean, we know details here and there. I mean, is Paul Rudd still a thing in the movie? James, I don't even know who that is.
Cyclops.
Was it?
Cyclops.
Oh, Cyclops. So the X-Men are in Sonic live action? See, I don't know anything about the movie. When we get a trailer, I'll react, no doubt, because that's something I think is expected of me to react. As for Mario and Sonic in the Olympic Games, I wouldn't do a marathon of that, but I would do like maybe a collaboration video, sure.
You do realize that I donated.
Say what?
You do realize that I donated the game to you.
Are you blackmailing me? Oh yeah, I know you gave me Sonic Free Riders because you hold that picture up everywhere you go. But thank you, because a lot of people enjoyed that video, and I have you to thank. Give them a round of applause. What, Uncle?
Do you find it difficult to turn off that commentator part of you when you're not recording?
No, and Mark hates it. It's true, I can't watch movies next to Mark. I'm sorry. No, I'm not. Wait, what is that game you're holding in your hand? You. It's a Gundam model. Okay, well, what's up?
He just wanted to show you his Gundam model.
Oh, you just want to look at it. What's the question, bro?
Have you or anyone that you know seen the recent Tomb Raider movie?
The recent Tomb Raider movie?
Yeah, with Alicia Vikander.
No, is Angelina Jolie still playing? No, I don't watch Tomb Raider. You know, the last one I played was the definitive edition of the PS4, which is a great game. But I've not played Rise of the Tomb Raider, or then I have no opinion on the next one coming out. I haven't been a dedicated Tomb Raider fan since 2 on the PlayStation 1, and that's the last one I totally played. So, okay, we'll see. Wait, who's that next to you pointing at you? That's your mom? Give her mom a round of applause. That's looking out for your boy.
We're ready for mothers.
Yeah. How's it going?
Good. Would you care to give a shout out to my friend Austin the RPG guy?
Austin the RPG? That sounds so familiar. I think I know that guy.
You might have met him from one of your streams with Mars.
Is he an actual nut? Macadamia? Brazilian? No, okay. Yeah, I'd give a shout out to Austin the RPG, and if you happen to be watching this, hey Austin. It's me, Austin. Austin. Okay, let's see what's that. Okay, let's see that. Aqua Keyblade in the back.
Hi, I know this kind of sounds like stereotypical, but what made you want to get into reviewing in general with YouTube, like, at all? Like, just like, I know.
I was depressed and didn't escape. Okay, no, on a less depressing note, I was a fan of AVGN and Nostalgia Critic back then. I liked what they did a lot, and I figured, I have a camera, I have Windows Movie Maker, I have a craptastic e-machine that I got at Walmart for $100. I can do something like that, and I did. And I remember one of the earliest videos that Mark and I did. This is back when we lived in the casino basement in downstairs. Because I remember that used to be Steven's playroom, you know, with the garish green carpet and the grill that was used as a makeshift heater, which wasn't dangerous at all. She tied me up. I think one of the first videos we ever shot was like we just messed around fucking with it, and then I messed it with Movie Maker for about an hour, and we couldn't see shit because the lighting was horrible. But we did that. I really liked the result of it, and the rest is history. I guess you could really say. You know, I go into all that like in the anniversary video that Elliot and I did, so you just watch that.
It was worth 4 hours of recording.
Wait, Alex, who are you pointing to? Nora? Nora, I can't see you from here. Just stand up. Hey, Nora.
Hi, Nora. Hi.
Wait, did you say PvP or PvE? PvP? Oh, you got me there. It's like, I do not give a shit about PvP in the slightest. Say what? Oh, my FF logs? You bitch. I can't stand PvP. I'll do Savage every day, but not PvP. Which is a shame too, because I want to get that damn mount. Why are you... Leave Deathstroke alone. Or when I'm saying like Deathstroke, it's Red Hood. I'm not even sure. Yeah, I think it's Red Hood. Well, what's your question, Red Hood? They take the mask off.
But they didn't care about him until we put the mask on.
What are you most hoping to see in Metroid Prime 4? What do you anticipate?
No, you see, I don't really care about Silex. I didn't think he was an impressionable villain, honestly, you know, because he's from Prime Hunters. Okay, that's strike one. Sorry.
It wasn't that bad.
No, it wasn't. It's not a bad game. It's just that I can't play it because it hurts my hands. Honestly, if it is you can give me Metroid Prime HD, like Metroid Prime 1 HD, and I wouldn't give a shit. I'll go back to Talon 4 or Talon 5, its cousin. If it's about as, I want to say open, in quotes, as Prime or Super Metroid, and I mean, that's it, that's all you need. And of course, I want the game to actually look good and play well. All right, so we got about, what, how many minutes? In 5 minutes? Okay, that's fine. All right, let me see here. McFly.
In your YouTube career, have there been any situations where you wish you could have done something, or you had any regrets at all? And follow-up question: what the hell is a gigawatt?
Scott. My only regret is that I didn't play Fortnite faster. No, I honestly don't really have any regrets. I think if I were to tell anything my past self, like in 2008, I would say stick with it like immediately, because back then I was really on and off with it, because I was juggling that, so I went back to the Art Institute of Philadelphia, and like in 2010, I started my job at Wawa to pay the bills and that sort of thing. If I knew that my channel would take off as fast as it did after like 2012, I would have quit my job earlier. That's about it, though.
And don't say Sonic Chronicles is a good game.
No, it's not. Who told you this thing? Oh, wait, me. Person with the hat in the back, waving it. Yeah, you. The weirdest game I ever got for the Journey? Yeah, Corey in the House was probably up there, but only because I knew nothing of Corey in the House. But I gotta give shout outs to Barry, because he's the one that. Barry, are you here?
He's here.
There you go.
Yeah,
He's the one that gave me Mary Kate and Ashley Sweet 16.
I'm gonna give you some coffee.
Yay!
It's $20.
It's probably poison.
No, it's freshly bought.
Let's say, wait, what is it? Butterscotch? This is poison. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. All right, we got 2 more questions. Let me see here. You're holding the game up. What is that in your hand? Yeah. Oh, it's a demo disc.
Way back in your Budokai reviews, you
Yeah.
said Dragon Ball Z was one of your inspirations to become an animator.
Yeah.
Is there any other shows or artists that also wanted you to become an animator?
Sonic X.
No. Not so much with cartoons from that age in there, because I love like Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, Freakazoid, Batman the Animated Series, but they didn't really inspire me as much, because I was so enamored with just watching them that I didn't think I could do this. It was starting with Dragon Ball is where I really started thinking that. And then afterwards, when I wasn't pursuing my career in arts, I watched a lot of Newgrounds. I brought something in the Castle Crashers video that was the major inspiration for me. Like the deranged, very cartoon styles that a lot of people shared. That was a major inspiration for me, because those are from people that weren't from a major studio. Those are people who were just in their parents' basement, most likely, with a tablet, and making a cartoon that a lot of people could like. And that, to me, is more inspiring than, say, I'm from Disney Studios. Hey, that's great. Can I get a job? No. Okay. I'll leave now. All right, one more question. I'm sorry that we couldn't get to everybody, but you with a purple shirt.
Hi, Johnny. I really like your Mother 3 review.
Thank you.
It's one of my favorite games of all time. I couldn't help the shirt.
Oh, is that what you're wearing, a Mother 3 shirt?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't. Oh, it's a Chimera. Okay, that was my Chimera. Okay.
All right. Well, the only other review I'd like to see from you is Xenoblade Chronicles.
Would you guys like to see me review Xenoblade Chronicles? Who said that? It was him. That's Jim, I promise. I'll look at that after I fulfill my promise to Ted. Not the Kirby marathon, which you guys don't want. You want to look at the Dragon Quest V, right? Dragon Quest V? Okay, yeah. Is it actually like Kirby? Is that like its Japanese name? Is Kirby Dragon Quest V? Well, okay, we have to wrap it up at 6:50. Before we go, I do want a group picture of everyone here. We just like stand up.
We good? We doing another? Okay.
Again, 3, 2, 1. Everyone say Kirby sucks. All right, 3.
Kirby sucks!
See, Ted, that's why I won't do it. The audience doesn't lie.